All these 4K cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We good, Ronald? Feeling good about this? Normally we have John to do that, but all right. Well, you just heard Father Ed Brince just mention the Oak Hill Collaborative in a very brief sentence, but we figured we'd bring the person who is in charge of that entire organization on Valley Spotlight. This is Pat Kerrigan. So Pat from the Oak Hill Collaborative, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor.
I feel like over the course of your lifetime and your career, you have been probably introduced with many different titles, right?
That's an understatement. Yeah. And that's part of my life that I value and cherish the most.
Yeah, and you really do. You are a man who has had some sort of role within our community in making sure that people are moved forward. You spent time as a judge for a very long time, and you had the opportunity to see people, to take care of problems, and to find solutions for them. And the Oak Hill Collaborative is basically you continuing to do that, which I think is incredibly remarkable.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think it's part of the same mindset. You know, I mean, I was brought up with a family that believed in social action, social justice, and especially within the context of, of my faith, even, not to get all evangelical on you, but I mean, this is how I practice my faith. It's a ministry for me, and it always has been. And so that's important to me, and I feel like I can make a difference by touching people's lives, and it's something that I love to do. So
for people who have never heard of the Oak Hill Collaborative, the mission is to?
The mission is varied. We're lucky that, for one thing, I'm the only employee. I'm the only full-time. We get an intern here or there, we get volunteers, but so it kind of goes where I want it to go. And I have a very supportive board and a couple of generous benefactors and every time I say, well, we'll do this, and they say, that's a great idea. Let's go there. So our mission is to improve the South Side, revitalization, and more than just what some people use the word revitalization. We want to have business incubator and education and cleaning up the neighborhood as well. So that's all part and parcel of it. So we do what other people are doing, but on a smaller level, because I'm the only employee, as I said, and we have a small budget. But our current mission is to do this revitalization through digital inclusion, or we call it digital advantage, to try to help people move their lives forward with education on how to use computers and how to use the internet, from basic digital literacy classes all the way to 3D printers we have and make them available to people. We teach all sorts of classes, trying to bring wireless mesh network to the downtown. I helped write a bill and testified in Columbus on $100 million a year subsidy for laying fiber and all those things in between. And the beauty of all this, is because I can do that.
Right.
And I'm a lawyer. I mean, so I can help. I can write. I can speak in front of the State House. I worked in Columbus for 5 years. And yet I can also go out in the hood, meet people, and say, well, here, let me help you with your education for the classes.
Right.
And so it's really energizing for me, and I love to do that. But our mission, I suppose, would be to improve the quality of life. And we started on the South Side, but it's really now for the city of Youngstown, even Mahoning County, because a lot of what we do includes the whole county. So it's not a real narrow thing. And I've been accused of being in too many places in too many different directions, and I am trying to rein myself in, but we're still agile enough to move, if something comes up that,
Right.
we do it.
A lot of people might wonder why you came back to Youngstown, why you came back to the Mahoning County after you spent time in prison, and you were found guilty of extortion, correct?
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
as a sitting judge.
Right.
And there are a lot of people who probably still only think of you in that sense, but You went to prison in 1998. You came out in 2000. But what happened in 1993 is
Right.
what put you there in 1998.
Right, right.
And a lot of people don't know what that story is.
Right, that's
So
a long time ago. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there were a few questions raised, things that you weren't even aware were an issue, correct?
Correct. Right. Right. I mean, as I said before, I mean, I don't want to just say, well, I didn't do it, or I'm innocent, because we all do certain things that, in retrospect, you say, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe that's the old Youngstown way, or maybe, not to make excuses, but you don't really think of the significance of it. But yeah, I mean, it was a situation where, I had accepted benefits. I never accepted a bribe, never accepted any cash, never did anything like that. But it was I accepted benefits that were inappropriate. And I was the first one. There was a whole new task force coming to town, and so I was the first one that kind of, they got. And partly because I was a political maverick, so all the political institutions, all the old timers, they were afraid of me. We didn't talk about this, but I was very popular. I had money. I could raise money. I could do whatever I want. So a lot of people really were out to bring me down, and so that just exaggerates all the things that happen. So yeah, I got charged with taking benefit on a trip that was from my stockbroker. I thought that
A family friend.
I was godfather to his son. I mean,
Right.
I thought that he had taken care of it. Well, then he got in trouble for the story that he gave to the FBI, and so he
Just
exaggerated.
because you took a plane trip
A plane trip, right,
with him.
to
And
Florida.
you
right.
weren't sure who had paid for it.
Right, and he had bought trips for me before because he was my stockbroker. So I was on the Lisa Gibbons show out in California, and he would give me upgrades to go there, or he would, things like that. I mean, I know there was an FBI agent that he gave a trip to. Well, that guy never got indicted. You never thought that. Well, wait a minute, why isn't he in trouble when I am? But
It sounds so insignificant, but obviously somewhere down the lines it's against the rules. And you spent a series of months in federal prison.
Yep.
When you got the news that you were going, what do you even do? I mean, how do you even get through something like that?
I got married. Like the day before I went to be sentenced, I got married. I was living with my girlfriend, who was very supportive, and she was my rock, and she helped me get through it, and so that helped. I did a lot of praying. One of the issues that I had through this was there was some mental health issues. I was undiagnosed bipolar manic depressive. And now you think about that sometimes, and you watch TV and they say, oh my God, the guy went out and robbed a bank and killed 3 people, but he was bipolar. And you think,
Right.
oh, wait a minute, that's what I had, but I didn't get cut any slack because of that. But I know the best psychiatrists in town, and they had diagnosed me with depression, and give me the wrong medication. I was on Prozac and lithium and all sorts of things that weren't working. But anyway, so once we got that straight, my mind was a lot clearer. I mean, I had a couple of things. Once in '94, after all these things happened, I got a DUI,
Right.
and I went to rehab. I voluntarily submitted to DUI. I felt I was a judge, and in due diligence, and I really should go to a place with dual diagnosis and help and see what I can do to get my mind clear. So that helped a lot. But then of course you get indicted 5 years later for stuff that happened before. That was kind of a kick in the pants.
So when you went to go serve time, you also were able to go and see a doctor as part of your sentence, correct?
Well, actually, when they sentenced me, the Bureau of Prisons sent me to a mental health facility in Rochester, Minnesota, affiliated with the Mayo Clinic, because they knew that there were issues there, and so they wanted to make sure that I got diagnosed and they did, like that. The guy came to me, and they said, well, we're going to put you on this medication because you're bipolar. I'm like, no, I'm not. All the psychiatrists in Youngstown, He said, trust me, we did the right blood test, and it's very clear, it's very simple. That was in 1998. I'm on the same medication today, and I'm pretty good. You know,
Yeah.
I have my ups and downs still.
Of course.
But, you know,
Everybody
we all
does.
We all do.
That's
right,
life.
Right.
That's life. So you spend time in prison and you get out. And it's time to come home
Right.
and face a lot of people who probably think that you took thousands of dollars or you were living some lavish
Right,
lifestyle,
right.
don't know the entire story, but you still have to come home.
Right. And
Or you wanted to come home.
I wanted to come home. I mean, it's like, you know, facing your demons. You know, the people that I disappointed, that was what I feared. That was my biggest heartache and my biggest failure in my own mind is, you know, the people that are, you know, what do they say now? The haters are going to hate. So I couldn't worry about them, but it was my mother and, you know, the Ursuline nuns and, you know, my friends, the people like that, you know, swore by Pat Kerrigan, and I wanted to show them that I wasn't that kind of guy. I wasn't going to run and hide. I was going to come back and continue to do what I did, you know, and do it more so. And I kicked around for a while. I mean, I didn't really find myself at first. I went back to school and got a master's degree and working on my PhD at Kent State and doing some legal clerking. And then this opportunity came about to help develop a couple of nonprofits in town. I started Home for Good, reentry referral, and worked with what is now the Huntington County Land Bank, and then the Oak Hill Collaborative. So, I mean, I decided that being a PhD was that was too academic for me, you know.
Not hands-on enough,
No,
not down and dirty enough.
No,
right?
too much in the tower, you know. I mean, and they would care more if you published an article for other PhDs, and they didn't care if you were the best teacher on campus or that you accomplished public policy, you know, on the grassroots level, and that's what I'm into. So I'm back doing with my people, with la gente, as they say in Spanish, the people.
You happy?
Oh, I'm happy, yeah, very much so.
Would you go back and change any of it?
Sure, I wish I was a judge. You know, I mean, I loved that job. I mean, I was.
You were very passionate about that.
I was
job.
very passionate, and I still am, and I loved every aspect of it, and got paid a lot more, and had great perquisites to the jobs. You know, great perks, but. You know, I'm still doing the same thing, and to me, I was saying before, it's a ministry for me. So I'm getting a lot of personal satisfaction out of it and doing God's work. So yeah, I'm very happy. You know, I mean, live in Youngstown, and you know, my house is paid for. My kids are grown and gone, and you know, it's all good. Yeah, a lovely wife, and
Yes.
got a dog, you know, that loves me and doesn't care if I. You know, whatever happens, bad day, the dog comes up to me and licks me. So, yeah, it's all good. I'm pretty happy, and yeah, well, I miss being a judge. I really do. I can't deny that fact. But what I do is pretty good. You know, I work a lot harder now for a lot less money than I did when I was a judge. Being a judge was a fun thing. I mean, you went out there and you had intensity for 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day. Yeah. And then, you know, you touched so many people's lives, and it was exhausting. But then after that, you know, you were more free to do other things and help people in other ways. So.
And here you are.
And here I am. Yeah. So.
Thank you, Pat.
Oh. Thank you.
Very nice.
We're going to put the entire interview online. I'm going to have to obviously edit that down significantly to some of the highlights, but we'll put the whole thing online, right?
We didn't talk about Cafe Augustine, is that right?
Well, the whole thing, we started with that, and they're going to see the whole story, and that's part of how you helped get that off the ground.
Right.
So.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a really neat thing, I think. You know.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and.
It's a wonderful thing. Anything else, Ron? We're good, right?
Legacy? What do you want people to remember you for?
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right. And, okay. So Pat, here we are. So many years later. It's been 20 years after that initial blow, as I'll call it.
Yeah.
How do you want people
I call
to?
it my vacation.
Your vacation. That's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah.
What do you want people to remember you for? Obviously, I wouldn't think it's for that.
No, but I would like them to remember me for the fact that I came back and continued doing what I do, and through adversity and criticism and skepticism, and just kept plugging away, helping people. And one of the things I'm very proud of, and it's still true today, and I hope that it stays true, is that back to my judge days, that you can go to people in the inner city, people of color, African Americans, Puerto Ricans. I was their judge. I mean, they had a personal stake in me, and they still do. And they see me, and they all call me judge. I mean, and I can go to any church or bar in town, and I recognize Judge Kerrigan, and they appreciated what I did. But you go to any of the policemen at my era, they too felt, oh, that's the best judge we ever had, and I hear that all the time. And not to build myself up, but to get that kind of respect from disparate groups, from the people that, in many cases, were the criminals, the people that were getting arrested, and as well as people doing the arrested, and the lawyers and observers and court personnel, they all still have a respect for what I did and how I did it, and that's a legacy that continues to this day, and I just hope that I'm building on that, that people say, oh yeah, he's still doing what he does, and it's still Pat Kerrigan, and we love him for what he's doing, and appreciate that, and that's what I want to be known for.
I think that is exactly what you will be known for. I am fortunate to be your friend, and I want to say thank you for joining us on Valley Spotlight.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Very good.
Very good.